Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bracy Sports Media. My name is Aaron Bracy, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by University of Colorado defensive coordinator Tyson Summers. Tyson coached Eagles' third-round draft pick Davion Taylor last year at University of Colorado. Tyson, thanks so much for joining us today on Bracy Sports Media.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me and being here.
So I guess the first question Eagles fans want to know is, what are we getting, or what are they getting in Davion?
I think the first thing that will always jump out to anybody that's ever been around Davion is he is literally one of the most incredible human beings I've ever been around. He is the hardest worker that I've probably ever coached, and he's the most improved player that I've ever seen from one year to the next. If you took where he was, really a year ago in our spring practice to where he finished up in the season, I've never seen anyone improve like he has. He is tremendous. He asked me the first day I was hired, Coach, how can I be the best player that I can be for my team? How can I be the best teammate? How can I play in the NFL? And I told him, with your background and not having played high school football and not having played a lot in junior college football, you're going to have to come in here and do extra meetings and extra time. And I tell you, every day, never missed a day that he didn't come spend at least an hour or 2 hours with us a day extra. And you can see in the way he played, his number one intangible is his ability to run. He's one of the fastest linebackers I've ever been around. For someone, to weigh between 225 and 235 pounds that can run 4.39 on his pro day, 4.49 at the combine. Those are intangibles that are really challenging to coach. But he will improve every day. He'll be an incredible teammate. He'll at least be able to be a dominant player on special teams.
I want to get back to his speed in a second, but you mentioned his story. It's an incredible story. He played less than 2 games of football in high school due to his religious beliefs, went to junior college, and somehow managed to find his way onto a Division I roster.
Yes, sir.
What have you ever seen that, and to what do you attribute that ability to get from where he was to where he is now?
Well, he's very motivated and he's very driven. He's also someone, again, that is, like I said, just an incredible person, trusts, believes, and looks for the best in people. You've never seen Davion Taylor without a smile on his face. We were hard and we were demanding and we coached him tough. He still, yes, sir, and just kept grinding with a smile. All of his teammates, I can't tell you, it was, obviously late last night, the draft, and I'm getting 40 to 50 text messages at 11 o'clock just talking about from his teammates, how excited they are for him. But he's, again, his story, I've never heard one like it. That really doesn't play high school football, like you said, wasn't able to play his mother primarily, but his family, very devout Christians, and so he didn't wind up playing because of some of their beliefs. Very respectful to what his family wanted him to be able to do, knew once he had his opportunity to play that he would make the most of it, and he's worked his way into a great player.
Tyson Summers, University of Colorado defensive coordinator and Davion Taylor's coach last year, joining us here on Bracy Sports Media. Tyson, I've watched the highlights and seeing what he can do. You mentioned the speed, running down the University of Oregon running back was incredible, covering slot receivers and getting to the quarterback. How did you use him in the system to be able to do all those things?
Well, we felt like he was a special player, so a lot of the system had to adjust around him, to be honest with you. He was not your typical star for what we had done at the University of Georgia, and we were bringing that system over to the University of Colorado. So we did. We had to make some adjustments as you went through it. But I would tell you the thing that impressed me probably most, other than his raw talent, was all the things we did ask him to do. You mentioned it when we played teams that had 12 personnel and 2 tight ends or 2 backs. He was really playing an outside linebacker 9 technique for us, and that's typically a 250, 260-pound person. When they came out in 11 personnel, we asked them to cover slot receivers like you talked about earlier, be active in the run game. On third down, we were playing him as a defensive end that was, pressuring, being able to get sacks and being able to create havoc up front. He was a lot of times a guy that we stemmed and moved with, which takes a lot of time to understand protections. And we asked him to do a lot, and he was really able to do it. And the thing I think you would see the most when you watch his film is the last 3 or 4 games, how improved he is fundamentally, and how improved he is for a guy that is being asked a lot of different techniques for him to be able to master those.
One of the things on the scouting reports and everything you hear is how raw he is and how much he has to learn. But you mentioned to me prior to coming on that he really spent a lot of time trying to get better. Can you tell Eagles fans what he did to improve sort of off the field and what they can expect of him as far as getting in the books and getting in the film and such those things?
Sure. Well, the off the field, like I said, the great story is the first time I'm there. We had originally flown out to Colorado and were able to work for a couple of weeks. Came home for Christmas, and I get a text message from him, Coach, when are you going to be back? And school was starting mid-January that year, and told him I'll be back, somewhere around January 2nd, January 3rd, and he comes back early. Because he wants one-on-one time to learn the system. He wants to be on day 10 of install, on the first day we're trying to install things, and he wanted to be ahead of the game. Asked me what he could do to be a great player, a great teammate, and then again asked him what he can do to be able to play in the NFL. And I told him, you're going to have to come over here and spend extra time every night. It's on your time, obviously, and he did an hour or two every night, for 11 months that he was able to be diligent in it. He wants to make sure he finishes his degree, so he's been taking classes all semester and going to wind up with a 3.0 GPA this semester. It's just,
wow.
Young man, if we talked about, that day you've got to be better at this from an individual technique, you need to work that, then he would stay out another 30 or 45 minutes and do individual on his own. Wow. And I think that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a total team player. You're going to get a guy that's got an incredible ceiling in front of him, his best ball's ahead of him, and again he's going to be the best person, the hardest worker that you're going to be able to have.
Tyson Summers, Davion Taylor's coach at University of Colorado, joining us. Tyson, for those who question whether he'll be able to adapt the NFL game because he is so raw, what would you say to those people?
Well, I think the first thing is, the system that we've had him in this past year, I really think is going to help him with that. Again, our system at University of Colorado really branches, comes from University of Georgia with obviously Coach Tucker and Coach Smart. And that system obviously comes from Nick Saban. So the Nick Saban, Bill Belichick tree, and there's a number of people in the NFL that are running the system very similar that come off of Coach Belichick's tree. He's been in that. So there's not going to be coverage concepts that he doesn't understand. There's not going to be protection beaters and pressure he's not going to be able to understand. So I think those are things he's going to pick up really quickly. It's really just a matter of how the organization chooses to use him.
Were there some plays that he made over your last year while you were coaching him that you had maybe never seen before, or that just were like, wow, and that really told you and probably scouts that this guy is a legit NFL prospect?
Well, I think that, where you're really able to see him, and this is where his talent is so high, there are a number of great clips, but there's obviously a clip in the University of Washington game where, there's a reverse and he's able to diagnose it, almost immediately. And what looks like should be a run that's going to go for 40 yards goes for 1. And he's able to track it down all the way across the field. And so, very similar player on the season versus University of Nebraska. So we didn't get a lot of reverses because if he saw it early enough, it didn't matter. He was going to be able to track it. But I think that, and obviously the clip with the University of Oregon, very talented players on their team, and he chases the guy for 50 yards, and those are things that you see corners do, not things that you see linebackers do, and. He's a ball hawk, and he's a high energy guy. And like I said, he's going to be a really productive player in the NFL and for the Eagles.
The thing that impressed me about that Oregon play wasn't just the speed, which was incredible, but he didn't give up on the play. I mean, it would have been easy to give up. Is that something that you see from him day in and day out in practice, in games, in coaching, on the sideline, film room? Because if you see someone do that, I mean, that's not just athleticism. There's something inside of you that tells you I'm not going to give up on this.
That's right, and he's again that's the kind of person he is. He was on our track team for our university.
Right.
And so as he was running, I remember we went into the first spring and he had a good run where he was chasing a player for about 40 yards and then he kind of gave up a little bit. And I told him, I said, this isn't 100 meters now. You're chasing it all the way. And so he just said, yes, sir, I got you, coach. And he was an exceptional practice player. And if he didn't believe in how he practiced was going to, correlate to how he played in the games, then you wouldn't have seen the improvement that he had.
What are some reasonable expectations from your standpoint for him from the talk? He may start as a special teams player, possibly get into the rotation and linebacker. What do you think is the ceiling on Davion, and what would be like reasonable expectations for fans to have?
In year one or the career?
I would say starting out in year one, what would be reasonable, and then what would be the ceiling over his career, do you think?
I think in year one, Davion's going to be able to come in again and have a really good feel for the system that the Eagles have, and the coaches will put him in, a great opportunity to be successful with that. I would say he would at least be, again, a dominant special teams player. So hard to be able to find guys that have played a lot of special teams in college, which he has, and guys that have the size that he does. If you're a 6'2", 230 pounds and run 4'9", there's a lot of places you can play on teams. If you're a guy that's willing to chase the ball and run and hit, like he's shown on his film, then he's going to be able to have that. I think, I couldn't tell you what the roster, the depth chart was for the Eagles. I don't know those things.
Right.
I'm worried about ours, but I think he'll be able to come in, and I think he'll certainly be able to be a really good player on defense. And I think the ceiling is as high as it can get for him. I really do.
Well, Tyson, really appreciate you taking a couple minutes to join us here on Bracy Sports Media. We're so excited here in Philadelphia to have Davion. Certainly needed some speed on defense, and Davion certainly provides that. And definitely thank you for your input and thank you for your information. And we wish you the best of luck this year at the University of Colorado.
Yes, sir. Thank you all so much, and go Eagles.
Thank you so much, Tyson.